Our first ever sponsor on the channel is the stallion Tricked Out Spook. He's a son of Spook's Got a Gun, out of her daughter Rowdy Yankee, was shown very successfully by multiple horse trainers to lifetime earnings of over $71,000. Those of you who know me at all personally know that I'm a big fan of this stud in general, but also his offspring. I've had 3 of them and loved every one of them. I think they're exceptionally talented. They're all pretty. They're all that type of horse that you want to go to ride every day. My favorite part of those horses, though, all 3 of them that I had, all 3 of them were exceptionally gifted in effort. They were that type of horse that, as Sean Florida says he likes one that'll dig in and try for you. These are that type of horse. I'm a big fan, and I hope that other people will start seeing them for what they are. And that's really, really great horses that have really, really top level minds. So, if you're interested, give contact at trickedoutthespook.com or Foals R Us, where he currently stands. Welcome to the preview episode for the 2023 NRHA Derby on Up for Discussion, sponsored by Tricked Out Spook. I'm going to do this episode, as I always do, I'm going to do it a little different than normal. I'm going to frame it a little different because I'm going to start out with just give you my favorite right off the bat. It's Casey Deering, Downright Amazing. All right, thank you. All right, I'm just kidding. So, Casey is my favorite because Downright Amazing is on a roll like we've very rarely seen in horses before. He's shown 3 times in a row now that he hasn't lost at 3 major events: the Shootout, the American Performance Horseman, and then the NRBC. That horse has looked as good as any horse ever. He's turning into one of the all-time great show horses. I think he's stepping a level past what even Casey might have expected of him, and it's looking amazing. That being said, Casey might be the favorite on that one, but he's got 2 other really nice horses that could be threats to make a run at it. Living on a Prayer marked a 229.5 back at the Cactus Reining Classic, made the finals at the NRBC and just had an unlucky break in the finals. Now 1030, on the other hand, who I had not seen look that good since he was a 3-year-old, made a pretty good run in the prelims and an even better run in the finals. And if that horse is as mentally mature as he looked that time, then that right there might be the physical talent needed to overtake a horse like Downright Amazing. Now, to continue on that conversation about Casey, his assistant is Luca Pawnee, and Luca's showing 3 pretty nice horses. He won the level 2 and 3 at the NRBC, only missed making the finals by I think 1.5 points, and that was with a big whoopsie with that lead penalty that he had. That being said, Starfighter 66 has been good enough to be shown by Casey, and in the level 4 stuff as a younger horse. I don't know if he's still got that kick to him, but it's a nice horse. And then the 2 that he's shown for bells, including Dream on Wiz, which is the one he won the 2 and 3 on. Like, this is the spot where any other 19-year-old kid going to work, having his first show as an open rider and going to win two titles in the lower levels at a major, I'd say, okay, he's gonna get cocky, backslide, and make a mistake. I've known Luca since he was a little kid. I don't see that happening. That being said, it might be my bias because I like the guy, but Luca could very well be on track to win the 2 and 3 again, and maybe even make the level 4 finals. I'm going to use that to connect into his dad, and Andrea is not bringing, in my personal opinion, his 2 best horses to this. That does not mean he's downgrading that much. He is bringing Starjack Vintage, Winding Inferno, and the 4-year-old Spook's Got a Whiz mic drop that he was 5th on at the Futurity. And those of you who know what I said about the Futurity, I think that horse was capable of winning it if he hadn't had the turn penalties. I think that thing might be one of the strongest stopping 4-year-olds in the country. Now, it hasn't been shown since the Futurity. Interesting to see, the time stretch there, what we're going to do with that. How that horse has changed, matured, whatever. Andre wouldn't be bringing him if he didn't think he had a shot on him. I think Starjack is obviously the most solid of the bunch. The Winding Inferno horse is probably the most stylish, and the Mike Drop horse might be, you know, the boom or bust horse in that bunch. So that's a look at that group that's kind of tied in together, and who I think in multiple ways, because I think Andre and Casey are the two best in the industry right now, and I think Luca is in an interesting spot, having learned from both of them and still learning from Casey. So that's an interesting set. The next person I want to talk about is another all-time great. In fact, he's the #2 all-time rider ever, and that is Sean Flaherty. There's 7 horses connected to Sean Flaherty's program that I want to talk about. 3 that Sean is showing, including Shiner on My Eye, who we've all seen him show very successfully. He's also pulling back out the RR Major Gunslinger horse, which I believe is the roan horse that he won the Florida Reining Classic on back in February, March. Really nice horse, 7 years old. He's had it since last August, and I think that horse is very cool. I'm interested to see if it can step up to that next level and play at the level it's going to be required that I assume is going to be required at the Derby this year. The one that's going to catch everybody's attention, though, is he is entered on the 4-year-old mare Andiamo, the mare that he just won the Futurity on back in December. This mare is bred to be royalty. She's one of the most physically gifted horses we saw last year. She's a wicked turner. I have, as we all know, I have my own issues with certain things that happen in that run at the Futurity, but I do believe that that horse is capable of so much more than even that, because I thought it was amazing in the prelims, and I'm thinking that that's going to be a hard one to get around. Sean doesn't show 4-year-olds very often unless he thinks there's something there, so I think that that horse is 100% capable of A, making the finals, and B, making a run to be up near the top. Now, the interesting one to me is Sean's son Sam is showing for him, and everybody knows Sam's working for him, and he was the high scorer of the level 2 in the first go at the NRBC on one. So Sam's got 3 to show, 2 of which are interesting, but the one that's the most interesting to me is he is going to show, he's going to show the 4-year-old mare, All Eyes Adore Her, that Andrea had as a 3-year-old and Sean showed at the NRBC. But the more interesting one is he is showing Alpha Jack Sparrow, who, if you had asked me at the beginning of the year, that was going to be Sean's favorite show at the Run for the Million. This late of a rider change makes me think that is not happening. I could be wrong. I don't know. I do not know the Flaherty thought process. I've never been around Sean enough to say that. But that's something that if I was going to show him at the Million, which I'm not, but if I was going to do that, I wouldn't be letting anybody else even throw a leg over the horse except Walk Him Cool right now. That being said, Sam's a different story because Sean trusts him more than anybody. I'm interested to see how that is going to work. The other one that's interesting to me, and this is a much different story, but it's a horse that Sean has had success on, made finals on and stuff, and that is Scott McCutcheon is showing Treasure Gal, and that's where I'm tying this one in. People sleep on Scott because he's a little older, because, you know, this, that, or the other. Proven showman. I mean, there was a lot of years where Scott was the most famous of the 3 McCutcheon brothers, and although not playing at that level regularly anymore, when you mount him on one that good, there's a good chance that he could make a run, even if it is only the mid levels of the 2 and the 3. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Scotty in the finals on that one. That's a really nice horse. Next, we're going to talk about who I think right now is on a roll at the wrong time to be on a roll, and that's Jason Van Landingham. I think Jason has got his program as dialed in as it ever has been. It's producing really good results. He's just catching a lick right at the time when, 3 of the all-time greatest horses are all going at the same time, including Casey's, as we talked about earlier. He's got 3 that are amazing horses. He's got Best Shine, who in any other era would have won 2 majors by now. He probably would have won the Derby twice. being, top 5, second, third constantly, never really making that breakthrough to win something. But I mean, how many times can you say a horse that's marked 230 has never won a major? And that's what we can say about Beshine. It's one of the most incredible things that's ever happened to see that be done that way. I'm a big fan of that horse, but I'm also a big fan of Gonna Be Big Time. And I'm beginning to think that Big Time might be Jason's leader for the run for the million. He is producing at a higher level than he even did with Brian, and that's no knock on Brian. The horse is just bigger and stronger. I think he's turning better, even though it's not exactly my style. Not the style I'm a fan of, but you can't deny it's working, and that horse has always been a monster stopper. And when you combine that with somebody like Jason, who will run him down at full bore all the time, it's hard to beat. His last horse is Refalicious, who I didn't expect much out of at the NRBC, and went and made me look silly by being in the top 5. It's horses are unpredictable, and that one seems to be in the mold to step up and play the game and take the pressure and work well in the program that he's in. So I think Jason's got a strong shot at being one of the people to snipe off this win from Casey. That will be difficult, but I think he's got a shot. So next, I want to talk about Cade McCutcheon. He's got 3. 2 of them I think are incredibly talented horses. Obviously, the Varsity Blue horse is the one I think is his favorite to go show at the million. It's a very cool, very, very wicked horse. I told the story about Cactus back in the NRBC video when I talked to him at the back gate. I'm a believer in that horse now. Even if he's not going to fire that way every time, he fires that way enough of the time that he's got to be taken seriously as a threat. The Cremello, the MMB Sia Wimpy, is also one of those animals that you can't take it for granted just because it's a little different. It's gonna do some cool things. Cade is showman enough to knock it through and make it work, and it's cool to watch that. It's cool to watch that young man show that horse. The one I'm interested in is he's also showing Trash It Quick, which is the one that Von Zimmerman bought, that is the relative of all of Trent Harvey's horses. It's the out of the Nestle Quick Chick mare. And I think that is an exceptional pairing. It's worked so far. Let's see if it works a little bit more at a little higher level as we step up. And then we got to go in after Cade, and we got to talk about the Iceman himself, Mr. Consistency, Craig Schmersel. Craig's got a couple. The 2 that I think are his favorites are the GT Shooter horse, and then what I think is the best horse he's got in the Derby age stuff right now, which is Setting Off to Town. Setting Off to Town is that horse that's interesting because he's just he's kind of like Craig. He's that good solid citizen that is going to be consistent. He's going to be right there. Craig has enough talent to move that horse up a notch or a tier because of what he's capable of. In this group of horses, I think that horse is a top 20 horse. With Craig on his back, I think he's a top 5 horse. And just like always, if anybody makes a mistake, Craig's there to swoop in and take it. That being said, I don't know if there's enough there to go make a run at winning this. There's too many horses that would have to make mistakes above that one to make a shot. I think Craig's going to be in the finals on 2 out of the 3. Those 2 would be my picks, but it's a tough thing to watch. The discrepancy of those horses and that little bit that Craig can make up. I don't know if it's enough to make up that gap. That is a nice horse. Not knocking the horse. I think he's really cool. I just think he's in one of the deepest times of Derby horses of all time. So next, we're going to talk about Francesco Martinotti. As a lot of people know, I'm a big fan of what I see his horses turn out like. He's showing a personal favorite horse of mine in Smoke and Trash. He's also showing the Magnum del Cielo horse. Those 2, I'm not surprised to see him show. The one I'm surprised not to see him show is the Spook's Got a Tinsel. That one is not entered. I'm guessing that's his million horse, and he's holding her. I'm interested to see, but I think that's the one he's going to show at the million, because I did hear the conversation about showing smoking trash at the Derbies this year since his last year, and then saving him for the million in the future. It's a very lateral move either way because I think both those horses are of equal talent levels, and it's a risk, but I'm wondering how it's going to pay off. I like when somebody's willing to take a risk and do something different, because the only two guys that I've talked about that are not showing their million horse at the Derby that have one that's Derby aged are Andrea and Francesco. Maybe it's an Italian thing, but I like that they're taking the risk and they're trying to set up without overshowing, as opposed to everybody else who's saying, okay, we're on a roll, let's keep showing and let's keep it going. And that might not be what they're saying, but that's what I'm seeing from the background. Francesco's another guy. He is right there in a spot to go win a major. It's a tough time right now with all these great horses. He's going to be, right there on that edge, and any one of those horses, either one of those two horses I just mentioned, could go win this thing in the right circumstance. But there's going to have to be some stumbles ahead of him with the guys that I would rate ahead of him as showmen, and the horses I would rate ahead of his horses as far as what they are for horseflesh. So Francesco's got a very strong group. He's going to be in the finals for sure. How many, I don't know, but he's going to be in the finals on something. And if he's in the finals, he's going to make a run at it. So I'm going to roll these next two in together. They both have multiple horses to show, but I only see one of their horses really being a threat in this deal, and that's Jordan Larson and Trevor Dare. They are both showing horses they qualified on for the million. Jordan showing that Gunner Special Night, I Shine at Night, and Trevor is showing the Spat Toy Boy gun horse that he qualified on at Cactus. I'm interested to see how this plays out. I've not seen the consistency from Trevor on that horse yet. I've seen Jordan be really good on his. In fact, he just kicked our butt for fun up in Idaho about a month ago, and cruised to a 25. So he's capable of it, and that horse is capable of it. That horse always stopped huge, but it's starting to turn like one of Jordan's. So it's very much getting to the point where it's on that level and that capability. If it stays clean, it's right there. It's right there to beat them all. So those two are the last two of that group I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to throw in Sierra Beck. You got to watch out for it. She's showing Clemberson's horse, the Spooks Got Outfire. She's showing a second one for him too, but the Spooks Got Outfire, I still think that's her front runner for the million. I'm not sure, but I think that might be, and that might be why she's showing him again. I'd be interested to ask her that question, but she's in Texas and I'm out here in California, so that might not get a chance to do that until I get to the million. But by then I won't want to harass her. So the next one we're going to talk about is a rider who's got two horses. He's not in the million this year, but he's got two horses that are capable of that level, and that's Matt Mills. He's got Stoppin' in Jersey and Guns and Dynamite, who was a bad slip away from making the finals of the NRBC, came back and won the open class there for the $25,000 added open class, and that's Guns and Dynamite. I think that Matt has an outside shot to win this thing. In fact, of the horses entered at the Derby this year in the Open, Guns and Dynamite is probably my third or fourth favorite horse. And I think that Matt's got a real shot on that one. I think he's got a better shot than some of the more famous riders, and even some of the guys who I would consider better showmen than him. But the difference in horse quality, and this is where the horses matter, is I think Matt is a good enough showman, is a really good showman, and he can go show that Guns and Dynamite horse and go mark a 26 or a 27 and be right there at the end. So, we watched him mark a 229 before. I think that is going to be a very strong possibility that's your guy who jumps up, that a lot of people are going to overlook and say, oh yeah, it's a nice horse, but what? It's a nice horse, and Matt's a good showman. It's gonna be right there, as long as something silly like slipping in the turnaround or a fall out of lead or something doesn't happen. That's what we look at when we watch these guys show. Now I'm going to run down a quick list of a lot of other horses that are just interesting to me, and horses I think you should watch if you're watching this deal on live stream. I'll start with Adam Hendrickson showing the Electrician. That is a cool horse, and Adam has leveled up a little bit as a showman this year, and I think he's a strong candidate to be a dark horse to make the finals. Whether or not he's going to go win it, I would say lean towards the no on that, but being in the finals is a huge accomplishment. I think he's very capable of doing that, and once you're in the finals, it's a go. Following that, although I don't know what divisions this one is in, we get to see 007 come back out with Gabriel Borges. Anybody that watched that horse last year as a 3-year-old loved him. I'm interested to see how that turns out. Coming out from Canada, Jesse Beckley, Trashing Your Dreams. Always a good one to go watch. He makes a lot of good runs. I'm very interested to see what happens there. Abby Langle is pulling out her 4-year-old that she was third on at the fraternity, bringing the heat. That thing is a turning sucker, and I hope it looks as good as it did at the fraternity, because that one could be a big timer in both the 4-year-old deal and in the level 4 itself. Trent Harvey is showing that was quick, which is another one out of that Nestle Quick Chick mare. And anything out of that mare, I'm saying pay attention to it. Josh Tishman will show Trendsetter. We've seen, since he took that one over, his thought process and worked through with that horse has seemed to bring that horse back to a much more forgiving and calm animal than he got to when he was at his best physically, but it also pushed his mentality to the edge. And I think Josh has quieted that down and made that a lot more balanced, and it's working really well with that pairing. And the other one is a favorite of mine, going to be a bright star in Fernando Salgado. Fernando hasn't had the luck this year that he had last year, other than at the American Performance Horse winning the team challenge thing. But I think Bright Star is one of the coolest horses in the country. It's always fun to watch him show. Fernando's fun to watch showing anything, but that would be my horse to say. And that's my preview for the NRHA Derby. I hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all got something to watch out of it. I'd like some comments on what you think of any other horses that I might have missed on the list. Riders I missed. I know I left a few people out. Some of them on purpose, some of them just because I was trying to cut the video time down. But as usual, I want to thank everybody that helps with this podcast. Obviously, Tricked Out Spook is our main sponsor. A new sponsor we're going to be welcoming on in the next episode. Not as the title sponsor, but just as another secondary sponsor. And then, obviously, some other people who helped me think about even doing this in the first place. And that's all I have for you. I'll see you guys next Friday before the Open Finals for the finals preview. So thank you, and I will see you guys all next time.